What's up, World Warriors? Today we're going to look at the Season 4 trailer for Street Fighter 6, which has ruffled some feathers, and you'll get my take on it as we go through it, and then I'm going to go over some info about the fighters that we can glean from their design elements and the info Capcom's already released about them. Also, at the end of the video, you're going to get a bonus rant from me about a lot of discussion I've been seeing around this announcement, because man, I've got some stuff to say, and some people aren't going to like hearing it, but they need to hear it. Let's take a look here at the Street Fighter 6 Year 4 reveal for new characters. Ugh, I'm now immediately reminded of Ingrid. I'm not a fan, guys. I haven't been a fan of her ever. At least not her role in the story. Alright. Man, that's some really nice animation. Get our big guy, an actual new male character. Very cool. Bosch coming back. Alright, this is a character that I've been waiting for a while to be playable. Obviously, it'll be different from the one included in World Tour. And then our number 4. Yup. The ultimate suck it to the people calling her for Tekken. Instead, best girl Tifa coming to Street Fighter 6. I'm not huge on guest characters. She's a good guest, though, and she'll bring a lot of attention to the series, so that's all good. Really strong year 4, all things considered. 4 solid characters. I do wish we'd get more than 4 characters per season, would be nice, but that kind of is what it is for the time being, so we'll just deal with that. But yeah, strong lineup, I think. Now let's take a bit of a more in-depth look at the 2 newcomers. We're, of course, already familiar with Bosch, because he was around in the World Tour mode, and surely his character will be different with a new character model, and obviously a lot of new animations in the full game when he's released. And we know Tifa from Final Fantasy VII, so we're not going to go into either of them, because they're familiar with us. Instead, I want to go in-depth with some info and speculation about Yasmine and Arjun, because I think they could be really interesting. Let's take a look at Yasmine first. Pretty obvious that her design has a lot of visual pop to it. Very bright two-tone hair and strong primary colors in her clothing. Really, really solid design from Capcom. Not their best ever, but we'll need some time for her to grow on us, and I think she has a really solid foundation. So what's Capcom told us about her so far? Well, she's a high schooler from the Philippines that's looking for a long-lost kuya. She's got a shy and gentle nature, but beams with confidence when she uses her karambit to dance around her opponents at high speed, just like her Lolo taught her. Well, kuya means brother, and Lolo means grandfather in Filipino, so she was taught by her grandfather and is looking for her missing brother. Missing siblings is an age-old trope, especially for fighting games, so she's going to fit right in. Also, notice the mention of her personality. Shy and gentle, except in fights. We're probably going to see that Yasmine is a girl that gets fired up for battle despite being quiet and unassuming before and after. Maybe she's the type that even gets carried away and ends up apologizing to an opponent after giving him an ass-kicking. What's her design tell us, though? Right away, we can see she wears her Filipino heritage right on her sleeve. Literally. That's the sun from the Philippines flag right there on her shoulder. On top of that, the color scheme I mentioned of the bold blue and red primary colors, along with her white wraps around her feet and hands, and the other parts of her clothing, those are the colors of the flag itself. Red, blue, white. Really strong representation for the Philippines here, which I'll wager fans from that area really appreciate. Another thing to note is her earrings. They're stars. Check out the flag of the Philippines again, and you'll see 3 stars around the sun. Those stars actually represent the 3 main island groups of the Philippines archipelago. Yasmine only has 2, though, 1 for each ear, which would seem like a miss by Capcom, but I think the intention might be that Yasmine comes from one of the island groups and has the other 2 represented by her earrings. Basically, Yasmine herself would be the 3rd star, which would mean she's representing all of the Philippines combined. It's just my theory, however. Now, I mentioned her bright hair, and damn, this girl has a pretty wild hairstyle to go along with it. A little bit of Shadow the Hedgehog vibes there, if I'm not lying. Just color shift her from pink to red, and you can see it, right? In actuality, it's not a land animal like a hedgehog, but a creature of the air that she's representing. The Philippine eagle. This is a national bird of the Philippines, and Yasmine is rocking the same exact haircut. Seriously, what the hell barbershop do these birds go to? And just look how big those eagles are in real life. Them being so big makes me think her karambit might actually be a talon from a giant version of one of those eagles. After all, giant versions of already big animals are kind of a staple of martial arts fiction. Like the giant Yasha ape in Baki, or in Ryu Final when little Ryu goes to fight a giant bear in the woods. I mean, look at that karambit. That's not a knife. That's clearly some kind of claw. It looks straight out of Jurassic Park. Of course, her usage of the karambit really drives home something we already know about her, that her martial art is silat. No surprise there, considering it's a major fighting style in Indonesia and it's tied very closely to the Philippines. It's also worth noting that her karambit's not sharp looking. The tip of it doesn't even look very pointed. This might seem weird, but I think it's probably because she's not a brutal fighter. Her form of silat might emphasize the usage of the karambit to hook, redirect, and trip up her opponents, rather than slashing them and making them bleed everywhere. After all, this isn't Mortal Kombat. All in all, she doesn't look bad. Definitely eager to see gameplay from her, especially since it's likely to be fast and really stylish. Capcom never disappoints with animations, and I suspect that we're going to see something really special with Yasmine. Now, onto our big boy Arjun. Arjun joins Dalsim as Street Fighter's second official Indian World Warrior. Though technically, I'm going to consider him the third, because Darun Mister from Street Fighter EX may be from a non-canon game, but he's a canon character thanks to him being the guy that Zangief gave his chess piece to in Shadow Falls, the story mode of Street Fighter V. Yes, he's off-screen, but his role in the story is officially confirmed by Capcom themselves. So Darun might not be seen, but he's still around and he is canon and he does count as far as I'm concerned. That tangent aside, let's talk about Arjun. Now, we do already have info on him thanks to an official release by Capcom, but it's in Japanese. Don't worry though, I got you covered on this one. So this says, Arjun, a former Indian police officer, is suspected of killing a colleague and is being chased. A passionate man who upholds justice and sets out on a journey to find the real culprit. Fighting style, Stagoro Yoga. A rogue fist that utilizes his extraordinary lung capacity through yoga breathing to unleash phenomenal power. Suspected of a crime he didn't commit, Arjun goes rogue to catch the real killer of his partner, who I guarantee was only one day away from retirement. Tried and true classic origin story that will always be cool no matter what. Clearly, Arjun's a good guy. Looking at his art, he also appears to be a huge guy, but we'll have to wait and see just how big he is. Overall, very cool design. Simple but badass. Though he does appear a lot simpler in design than Yasmine, I think we can still draw some information from his overall look. So let's dig in. We learned from his profile that he uses lung capacity, so breathing is going to be an important part of the character, which we can even see in his art where he's drawn in a huge breath. In fact, he looks all puffed up, even to his musculature, and we saw that breathing technique in the trailer with him. It's possible we'll see him utilize some wind techniques with his breath alone, maybe using inhaling to draw opponents in or exhaling to push opponents further away, kind of like what Fujin does in Mortal Kombat 11 with his wind abilities. So I mentioned Arjun is our second or third Indian World Warrior, depending on how you're counting, but he's our 8th Yoga Master. What, did you not know about these guys? Anyway, thanks to the CRI profiles we got in Street Fighter V, we got to know about these other Yoga Masters. Of course, there's Dalsim, the classic, but there's also Jagjit, a Master of Teleportation, Amitabh, a Master of Meditation, Mahabali Great, a Master of Physical Strength, Sheila, Master of... Damn, Sheila. Anyway, she's a Master of Flexibility, and yeah, she clearly is. Anyway, I gotta move on. Master Y is a Master of Telepathy and Turtle Balancing, apparently. And then the last guy we're going to talk about is Dr. Gulab Jamun, who is a Master of Yoga Expansion. He's able to expand himself, fulfilling the fetish of a bunch of deviant artist weirdos by harnessing chi. That's definitely got some overlap with the breathing ability of Arjun, so maybe that means he studied with Dr. Gulab? I don't know about that, because the doctor's profile says that no one wants to be his apprentice, so I guess not. Instead, it's possible Arjun is a master that stands alone with his own art that he's working on, and the breathing/inflation thing is just a slight bit of overlap that aren't directly related to each other as one single art. One of the most obvious things about Arjun is that he's essentially the total opposite of our other yoga warrior, Dalsim. Dalsim's spindly, thin, skeletal, really, and Arjun's a big, beefy guy. He's a power fighter from what we've been told, so that means his form of yoga is going to be totally different. The thing is, yoga isn't even a fighting style, and that's something that's been a point of contention for Dalsim since day one. But we need to realize that this is the Street Fighter universe, not the real world, and people fight with psychic powers, dance moves, and yeah, yoga. That doesn't mean, however, that Arjun doesn't potentially draw on another Indian fighting form. In fact, I have some suspicion he does. He's referred to as using Steguro Yoga in the profile, but Steguro is just a Japanese term for bare knuckle. It's basically how you refer to brawling or just simple boxing and fisticuffs. So his fighting style is bare knuckle yoga. What the hell is that? Well, for my money, I think he actually might be a Musti Yuddha user. Musti Yuddha, which translates directly to fist combat, is a very old fighting style from India. I'm talking so old that it's referenced as far back as the text of the Ramayana and the Rig Veda in like 1500 BC. Yeah, that's BC. So we're talking over 3,000 years ago. The style is actually so old that it's considered a predecessor for a lot of the martial arts that spread across the region later on, including Muay Thai in Thailand and Lethwei, aka Burmese boxing in Myanmar. To be totally fair though, all these fighting forms have really ancient roots and incorporate a lot of different history, so nailing down one origin point is basically impossible, and also a good way to get a bunch of people in the region fighting with each other over who started what. Now, other than it being the prominent form of ancient hand-to-hand in India, why do I think Arjun might be drawing on it for his fighting style? Take a look at his design elements. See, in Musti Yuddha, specifically in the northern form called Loh Mushti, they use a kara. These bangles are usually worn by Sikhs, but they're found in other religions in India as well, or just in other people that wear them culturally. In Sikh tradition, the kara represents an unbreakable attachment to God. And that's kind of the level of devotion we'd be seeing from a guy that's all justice-minded like Arjun, right? That's not to say I necessarily think he's Sikh or anything like that, because Street Fighter doesn't really tend to get involved in religion much, barring the really weirdly Christian Cammy in Street Fighter V, the anime. But I wanted to mention it because Kara is located in Loh Mushti, which is a form of Musti Yuddha. It's actually worn around the hand as shown here and is used to strike when it's part of the fighting form. Now take a look at Arjun's hands. You'll notice the dark wraps around them that definitely create the same look as the Kara being held. Not the same thing, and it could be a coincidence, but it could also be a deliberate design choice. After all, we do know Capcom puts a lot of thought into their design choices with their characters. Wait a sec, that circular pattern on the wraps kind of reminds me of... It's our buddy Mahabali great again. Mahabali has the ability to greatly increase his strength for some time with yoga, and Arjun is said to be able to use his breathing techniques to generate great power. Maybe there's a connection there? Mahabali is noted as being quite arrogant, so maybe Arjun is meant to be more forthright and justice-minded as a student of his. Kind of a contrast between the two. Just a thought. Of note, we also do see a bangle motif on Arjun, not on his hands, but on his waist and on his feet. So maybe the whole Musti connection is justified. We'll have to wait and see more. Either way, like Yasmine, I'm a fan of Arjun. I think he's pretty cool looking, and I look forward to seeing him in action. I really want to see what these two are going to play like and what they're going to offer to the game. Alright, so this is the point where I'm going to rant a little bit as we move on from talking about the characters and talk about the reaction to them. This is the unscripted part where I'm just going right off the top of my head and speaking with my full chest because Street Fighter community, guys, what are we doing? We're in Season 4. And I've seen nothing but unbridled bitching about this entire season of characters. We've got a new representative for a region we didn't have a rep for with Yasmine from the Philippines. We've got Bosch coming in and being playable as a full character, and he's got a great design, and he's tied right into the story of the game. We've got Arjun, who's another character from India, who looks to represent a new fighting style. Yes, it's called yoga, but it's going to be its own thing because we already know from his description that he's going to fight nothing like Dalsim. And we're getting a guest character, which is pretty much expected at this point, and it's Tifa, which is, yes, not as good a fit as Terry or Mai, but still, she makes sense and she's going to bring attention to the game. That's what they do these guest characters for, and it's how we extend the longevity of these games, so get used to it. But I see these people complaining all over the place in videos and on social media about how, oh, we got no classic returning characters. Bitch, please! Have you seen the previous seasons? Oh, let's look at all of our new characters that we had. Oh, wait, it's just Aki. Yes, we get a slightly reworked Ed, but that's just Ed, and we already had him. And every other character is something that we've already used before. And don't even give me this, oh, we haven't had Terry or Mai in a Street Fighter. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. They're guest characters. So they were going to be new no matter what. And they're not even new as far as mechanics because we've played as Terry and Mai in previous Capcom games. I can fire up Capcom vs. SNK 2 right now and play as them. So no, they don't really count as new to me. Why are we so against getting new characters that are going to be a part of a new game? I see people complaining that, oh, we didn't get Makoto, we didn't get Sakura, we didn't get Armika, we didn't get blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know. I like those characters too. That's why if I want to play as them, I have a bunch of games I can go play as them in. Would I like to see characters return? Yeah, obviously. I want to see Remy come back. I want to see another shot at 12. I want Necro to be in a game again. But you can't get everything all the time. We were told that this is a 10-year plan for Street Fighter 6, and we're in Season 4 and we're bitching that we're getting new characters. Why? New characters bring new eyes to the game. New characters bring new play styles to the game. When they gave us Vega back in Street Fighter V and he had a new fighting style where he was motions instead of being charged, people complained that it wasn't like classic Vega. You can play classic Vega in Street Fighter 4 and in Super Street Fighter 2 and in Street Fighter Alpha and in a zillion other games. So now they give you a new character that'll have a new play style, and we're going to complain about that too because we didn't get a classic character. What's the way to please you at this point? Do you just want to replay the same characters over and over and over again in slightly different engines? What a waste of time. Were you the same people in Street Fighter 3 bitching that we didn't get all of the Street Fighter 2 characters back? Oh, let me guess. Who's this character Makoto? And now here you are in 2026 complaining that we don't have Makoto in this game when you were complaining about her being in Street Fighter 3 in the first place. Does that make sense to you? Really, I want to know, does that seem logical? I don't get it, guys. Could the handling of Street Fighter 6 be better? Yes. No one's going to argue against that. And if they do, they're kind of crazy. Because we know Street Fighter 6 has had its ups and downs as it's been going. But the character selection has been pretty solid. And I'm saying that as someone that didn't have a main really in the game until we get characters like Ed and Bison, because I didn't really like anyone in the main cast. But I was okay with that because it was a good core cast. Since then, we've got favorites returning in every single season, including 2 seasons of only classic characters, including the previous one we just had. Like, what are we doing? Anyway, I've said my piece. I really want people to think about the season that we've got so far and reflect on the fact that, yeah, in this season we've got all newcomers. Why is that such a bad thing when we've had games where we got as many returning characters now as we had newcomers this season? Look, I've said my piece, and I just think people need to really reflect on the fact that new things in the game can be good and should be getting people excited. This isn't a time to dig your heels and demand that your favorite character comes back. Guess what? I have favorite characters too. Everyone does. Vega is my favorite Street Fighter character. He's not back in the game yet. I'm not losing my mind over it. I have other characters that I can play as that I enjoy, so I just use them. If you can't get over it, you just need to grow up at this point. Yes, we all have our favorites. Yes, we love the classic characters, but they only became classic characters because they were given a chance in the first place. We need to give these new characters a chance. We still have a very large roster. The game is scheduled for 10 years. We're not even halfway to that. Your favorites will probably be here, especially if you like any of the major characters like your Balrogs and your Vegas. And hell, we'll probably see, I don't know, Charlie come back because he was pretty popular too. And that guy's been dead twice already. A third time? Sure, why not? Bring him in, we'll kill him again. Though he still isn't anything compared to Bison. Either way, let's kind of chill out and, as they say, let Capcom cook. Because here's the crazy thing. For all the whining, crying, and gnashing of teeth right now, as soon as the first gameplay video of Yasmine drops, I know you same guys that were on Twitter and on YouTube whining about her being in this pack will be trying to hype up how cool her gameplay looks. Mark my words, and if you push my buttons any further, I'm going to call you out on it when it happens. You know I'll do it. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the rant. Talk to you later.